Hello, and welcome to Your Do-Over, the show where people learn how to do over in life. They learn from their past mistakes, they learn from other people's past mistakes, and they learn in a way that they don't have to go through this do-over thing again. This is going to be their final restart of life. And if you'd like, go to theDoOverGuide.com, pick up a copy of my book, Do-Over. It's a step-by-step manual of how to start over in life. At least it's a starting point. It's going to get you started. And you can download it for free, get the ebook and the audio version right there at theDoOverGuide.com. That's my free gift to you. So today's show, I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while, and we're finally able to put it together. And, it's a gentleman that needs really no introduction. So without further ado, please help me welcome to Your Do-Over, Mr. Adam Carolla. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
I love the theme.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you.
I meant the theme song.
Got it.
The actual theme of the content, not so much, but I'm imagining you're rolling in a pretty cool theme song.
Right, yeah. It's Hawaii 5-0-ish.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. That was an arrangement. Yeah, no, I love the idea of not making the same mistakes over and over and over again. It drives me nuts. I'm obsessed with it.
And us human beings have a tendency to do that.
I was talking to Dr. Drew about this today, and I was talking to my kids and wife about it last night, which is the proper labeling of events, which is my wife and I were trying to relax. My kids, who are 8-year-old twins, were having an epic battle over my son not letting my daughter borrow his iPhone for something. Of course, she has an iPhone, but the iPhone is not with her. And so I said, "Where is your iPhone, Natalia? Because we could avoid this epic argument if you had your iPhone." And my wife and she both said, "Erica has it." And I said, "Erica, who's Erica?" "Well, that's somebody's nanny, and she was out with them, and she took the phone to hang on to it. And then, of course, when my wife picked up my daughter, they both took off and left the iPhone behind." And I said, "Erica has it?" "Yeah, she's got it." I said, "No, Erica doesn't have it. You forgot it. Like, let's call this what it is first off, so we can address it. Because if it's not put in the form of a problem that can be internalized, there's nothing we can do." Meaning, if Erica just came up and snatched our iPhone, there's no behavior modification needed on our end, and there's nothing we can do about it. But in fact, if we call it what it is, you forgot your iPhone, now we can work on that.
Right.
So even the way it's labeled, and everyone thinks I'm a jackass because I'm like, "Erica doesn't have it, you forgot it." And they're like, first I'm confused, like, what did Erica do? And she's like, "Oh no, she was holding it for me." Like, okay, let's please call this what it is. You forgot your iPhone. Right. Now let's figure out ways to remedy that.
Right.
I feel like we don't even want to address properly what the problem is.
A lot of you use the word internalization a lot on your podcast, and
yes,
really comes down. I kind of look at it as just taking responsibility for your own results, for what you get. You've got some sort of involvement in some sort of you're some sort of cause in your results. And
well, my thing is, while everyone else is busily externalizing, I'm busily internalizing. Now, you'd think, well, externalizing is so much more convenient because it's never your fault when you externalize. The problem is when you externalize, you give somebody else the power to control your life, which is not a good thing.
Right.
So when you blame the government, you've now externalized, and unfortunately, you're giving the government dominion over the outcome of your life. We've seen what the government does with the LA Unified School District. Forget about you, the individual. They will F it up royally. I don't want to give dominion to either, the mayor of this city or the senators of this state or the nanny, Erica. I'd like full control. So I do full internalization, which means sometimes you got to take a look at yourself that's not so flattering, but I get to control it.
Right. We could stop right there. There's a solution that could cure so much of what ails society, for sure. And I've got a bunch of other questions I want to ask you, but I first want to just start off by acknowledging just what a great year you are having. It's really inspiring. You had the book on the New York Times bestseller, President Me. You've got the new movie Road Hard, which my girl and we watched for the second time this weekend. We really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, his
bet.
girl.
You bet. And you've got the Paul Newman documentary coming out. You've got the hit show Catch a Contractor, and you've got this thriving beverage business, and just congratulations. It's really awesome.
Thanks. I don't take stock of it that often. I just move forward.
Sure.
And I don't ever really think of it. And unfortunately for me, the things that you speak of that I should probably take some pride in feel more like obligations than victories to me. So what I know is I have to go tomorrow to do an episode of Catch a Contractor, and then I have to go do my podcast that night. And then when we're done here, before I do my podcast, I have to go get a couple hours in laying down my audiobook, because I'm a week past due of turning that thing in for the next book that's coming out. So it feels like a great victory sort of from the outside, but from the inside, it just feels like obligation and work, which is fine. It is what it is. The best way I can impart any knowledge or wisdom to your audience when it comes to how do you get things done when you have a pretty busy schedule, I always think of it in terms of this audio book that I'm working on as we speak, basically. Your book comes in a box. They don't send you the book a month and a half before it comes out. It comes in looks like a nice shirt box. And it's a stack of papers, and it's this thick, and it's 300 and some odd pages. And I am the worst student in the world, and I hate reading. And not only am I bad at reading, I'm bad at reading out loud, and I'm even bad at reading my own words. So sending me a box of papers, like when I lift it, it has heft to it, and when I pull out 100 pages at a time, feels like 3 pounds, and I put it in front of me, and it's like the most daunting, intimidating, Achilles heel, kryptonite thing in the world to me. When you show me a race car or a live audience or a podcast or something, I'm like, yeah, I got this. But when you show me a huge stack of pages to read, I just think, oh, God, no. And the only way I'm able to get through it, and it's just a perfect lesson and metaphor in life, is I look at it and I go, okay, relax. Here's what we're going to do. This Sunday before the podcast, I'm going to come in 2 hours early, and I'll do 2 hours. Not 3 hours, not 5 hours, just 2 hours. And today, when we're done here, I'll do 2 hours. And yesterday, before the podcast, I did 1 hour. Just broke it off into little, unintimidating, bite-sized pieces. Because if you told me you got an 8-hour session, I would take my own life. So you blink your eyes and you talk to your engineer and you say, how much do we have logged? And he goes, well, we got about 3.5 hours in. I'm like, oh, we got 3.5 hours into, 6-hour audiobook. I don't even really remember working on it that much. Just come in on a Saturday, put in 2 hours, go home. Don't do it at 6 a.m.
Right.
Noon to 2, Saturday. Go about your day. Enjoy your weekend. Break it off into little bite-sized pieces, and then it's done.
Right. I like that. My instinct is to ask you, where do you find the time? But I think a more interesting question, and you've been very open about how you were raised and your family life and your parents, where you were raised. Not the most empowering environment, not a whole lot of examples of success in your life. So where does that drive, or as you put it, that sense of obligation, where does that insane work ethic come from?
The more you do, the easier it is to do more. And I know it sounds like something you read on a bumper sticker or something, but I just sort of made that up. But I've kind of learned that, which is, people always say, how do you make a documentary? And I go, you make a documentary. You just do it. Just do it, And the more stuff that I do that's varied, the easier it is to do more things, because it's like with each new sport or instrument you master, you become a better musician with your chosen instrument, So I do believe that the more I do, the more I can do. Also, there's a thing where you really think in an efficient manner. Like you think, well, if I'm going to be doing this show for Spike, and this show shoots in Corona, California, and Whittier, and Riverside, and all these places, I'm going to be stuck in my car for an extended period of time. And what am I going to be doing during that period of time? I could be listening to the 80s station on the satellite radio, or I could finish my book. So I have the guy who's typing my book on the phone, and I'm not driving home from Riverside and burning 90 minutes. I burnt that 90 minutes working on my book.
Right.
And I will say to my assistant, I try to take it easy on him because he likes his sleep, but there are times when I say to him, I'm driving to Corona, California on Friday. I'm going to be on the road about 6:45 for my 8 a.m. call time. I need you to get up. I'm going to call you, and we're going to start rolling through some of these emails I need to get back on, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I always tell him, when we hang up, you can go back to bed. But when I'm stuck in this car for an hour and 15 minutes, get up, let's roll through some emails.
Got it. I like it. Most of the people that are watching us right now are finding themselves in a life do-over, so to speak. Either they just got there and they're totally bewildered and don't know what to do next, or they may have been there for a while and they're stuck and just don't have a clue as where to go. And after watching Road Hard, it was, did I say that? Did I roll my D there? Road Hard. Yeah. The story is very much about a stand-up comedian who's having to do over in life.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the twists and turns that your life has had and that your career has had. What point in your life do you think you identify the most with the main character, Bruce Madsen?
Well, definitely when I had a morning radio job and they flipped the format for the radio station and fired me and everybody else who worked there. And I found myself without a job and in a very bad economy. So I had this thing, I had two things that I'd one thing that I'd miscalculated in life, which is I worked in radio. It's a very specific skill set and job and unique whatever, and in television. And I thought if I ever get S-canned from my gig, it'll be totally separate from the economy, because you get fired in radio because your sports guy said Chinaman and you didn't admonish him, and now you're getting fired, or you said Chinaman, or you said something that offended somebody or somehow, whatever it is. I always figured the way I was wired, and because I was doing 4 hours of improvisational, opinionated gum flapping every morning, that I would get fired because of something I said. Well, I didn't think I'd get fired essentially because the economy tanked. And here it was 2009, and the economy was, and I was out of a job. So I thought, I'm gonna get fired for saying something stupid and then rehired somewhere else because the economy's going gangbusters. Well, it didn't happen that way. I got fired in the midst of a big time downturn, and nobody was hiring. And there was no such thing as, $1 million multi-year contracts flying around in a profession that I'd been in for 15 years. And also, my contingency plan was I had a couple of properties, and that if the wheels come off the wagon career-wise, I can always just sell something. But the economy was so bad that I was going to have to eat it selling those properties too. So I was in a really bad place, and I had, for the first time in a million years, found myself jobless, and 2 twins that at the time were a couple of years old. And I was like, wow, the phone's not ringing. And I realized I'm going to have to hit the road to make ends meet. And it was really humbling, and it was really physically uncomfortable, like bad motels and bad Southwest flights everywhere, and doing 3 nights, doing 3 shows a night, and traveling again. And I really, one thing about me is I don't like travel that much. I don't like staying in hotels that much. I don't have the wanderlust. I like my bed. I like my TV. I like my whatever's in my TiVo queue. I like it. I like my cars. I like to wrench on stuff. I like my stuff. I like my kids. I like my family. I know I put my cars in front of my kids and my family, but I like my stuff. And this was hit it every weekend, and it was really humbling. But that was sort of point that I identified most.
Got it.
With the guy in the movie.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
Sure.
If you could point to one thing, and maybe there's more than one thing, and feel free to share, that was responsible for you, bouncing back in such a strong way.
The one thing would be resilience and a certain amount of fear, which is I am now frightened for my professional future. I'm frightened for my family's financial future, and instead of getting into a fetal position, I'm going to have to come out fighting. I'm going to come out swinging. I'm going to work twice as hard now than I ever did to get. And, part of the problem where people say, well, why don't you take your foot off the gas a little bit, because you're doing so many things and you're so busy and it's so insane and your schedule's so hectic. The problem is I don't have the security of a contract anymore. So what I used to have is, here's a 3-year contract, you get paid a bunch of money, you get a Christmas vacation, and you're good for the next 3 years, and then that 3 years would come up and I'd sign another 3-year contract, and I could go home and relax.
Right.
What I have now is a whole bunch of stuff with no guarantees. You make a movie, maybe it makes money, maybe it doesn't. You do a podcast, maybe people tune in, maybe they don't, Right. There's a whole bunch of things with no contracts and no guarantees. So when they say to me, do you want to do a 2nd season or a 3rd season of Catch a Contractor? I think, well, I don't have any guarantees in any of this other stuff I'm doing. I mean, literally, if I got laryngitis and I couldn't speak for 3 weeks, I'd probably go under.
Right.
So it's like, this is a guarantee. Can you afford to say no to this money and this opportunity and this job? Even though you're busy as hell, everything you're busy with has no guarantees. Right. There's no, you do a Paul Newman documentary, it'd be nice if that movie made money. But so far, it's been 2 years and several $100,000 of my money.
Right.
I'm assuming I'm going to get that money back, but I don't know. So how can I tell the people at Spike I'm too busy?
Right. So would you almost describe it as fear keeps you going?
Yeah, I would to a certain degree, although I've never really worked from fear. It sounds like fear, and maybe it should be fear. It doesn't manifest itself as fear with me. It manifests itself in a way that's more, the sun is shining, there's a legacy to be left, there are people to meet and projects to do, and I want to do them all, you know, and I really feel that I want to do this movie, and I want to own this movie, and I want to leave it to my children so they have this reminder that I was on the planet. So it's a little more legacy than fear, and a little more fear of not optimizing and capitalizing on my life. You know, it's not really fear like, well, your house is going to go into foreclosure. It's not that fear. It's a fear of, I was on this planet, I had this ability, how much of it did I use and how much of it did I squander? I know I spent the first 30 years on the planet squandering whatever ability I had. I mean, I dug ditches on a construction site. It's insane that I would just be doing the least creative job on the planet, speaking to nobody, literally just shoveling dirt. It's like, you know, if you took, like if somebody said, well, Will Rogers, yeah, great storyteller, great raconteur. Well, what if he had a job just cleaning up garbage on the beach? You'd go, well, alone? Not writing anything down? Like, yeah, that's what he did. He had a stick with a nail in it. He used to walk around the beach. Wouldn't have been Will Rogers Beach, by the way. Would have been named something else. It's a local thing. But wouldn't you look at that as a waste of his life? And you go, well, sure it is. And I'm not saying I'm Will Rogers, but what I'm saying is I'm a creative voice. So the more time I spend digging ditches, the more of my life is wasted.
Got it. Yeah. No, I can relate. I was bagging groceries for $7 an hour at 34 years old, and
Right.
you know, I'd had a nice stint in the music business, and the digital download came along, wiped everything out, and had to recreate myself. So it's a little bit of fear from me. It's more of knowing what the alternative is. It's like, you know, if I don't do this, then that's what awaits me.
Well, why wouldn't you just do everything you can do and explore yourself and reinvent yourself anyway? You know, people say, what motivates you? Nothing motivates me. I'm able-bodied. My mind is functioning, at least for the foreseeable future. And I'm interested in a whole bunch of projects, and I want to get to them. It's not like somebody's twisting my arm or forcing me to do this. I was interested in Paul Newman. I was interested in his racing. I have some of his race cars. I raced some of his race cars, and I thought to myself, someone's got to tell this story. I'm able-bodied, and the sun is shining. Let's tell the story.
Why not you?
Why not me?
Exactly.
Right.
Love it. I've been a fan of the Adam Carolla show, the podcast, for 3 years probably, and probably haven't missed an episode in those 3 years.
Oh, thank you.
You can ask my wife, because I quote you around here daily. They're all kind of annoyed by me by sometimes. But anyway, you know, when I'm in between episodes or I've run out of episodes to listen to, I've frequently have gone and searched other podcasts where they have interviewed you. And, you know, I've learned a lot from those interviews, the types of interviews like this. And one of the things that I've learned is that there's a lot of people that really respect you, that really admire you, that have been greatly inspired by you. I mean, this studio that we're sitting in right now, this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Well, and thanks. So I thank you for that. I wanted to have the opportunity to thank you for that.
I appreciate it. I wish I was capable of internalizing that and feeling that to just 1 milligram worth of it. I wish I was wired that way. I think my parents ruined me because I have people all the time go, "You inspired me to go do my."
Hear it,
and
yeah.
I mean, all I think to myself is, "No, you did that. You did that. I didn't do anything for that." And maybe I did, but it always feels to me like, listen, whatever you've got here, that's you. And I appreciate you using me as the inspiration for it, but I don't feel it. I just feel like you've done a nice job of creating your own entity here. And it'd be nice. I know when people talk to me about like, oh, your legacy or being the podfather or being the first guy to get out there and kind of do this and that and open the door for other people, like I just feel like I don't feel it at all. All I feel like is I got to go to work.
All right.
That's my feeling.
Well, I'm going to thank you anyway.
I
okay?
will.
So you take it.
I'll take it. And I'll
Very
try
good.
to squeeze it into my pores.
Very good. Well, the point being is just a lot of people look up to you. And what I've always wondered, having accomplished everything that you have up to this point in your life, who is it that you look up to and why?
I look up to, I think most of the people I kind of respect are guys that are probably outside of the entertainment business. Guys like Elon Musk or guys like, there's a guy named Gale Banks who's just a sort of mechanical genius who does all these turbocharging things and all this kind of engineering and all this stuff. The real like technical innovators and the people that just build the rocket ships and the jet aircraft and stuff like that. I find myself much more like impressed and attracted to those people than of people. The way I'm wired from a self-esteem standpoint is, if I think I could do what you're doing, then I'm not impressed. So I do that with everything. So if I see somebody doing comedy, even doing comedy really well, I think to myself, oh, I could do that. And thus it doesn't count because I can do it. So when I see one of the Dutch masters' paintings and they show the hand and you can see every vein and muscle and bone in it, and it's perfect and it almost looks like a high-def photograph, I think to myself, I can't do that. Boy, am I impressed by that.
Right.
When I see the guy dipping Christ in urine or something, I go, well, I could do that. So you get no credit. So when I see Yoko Ono do what Yoko Ono does, I go, well, look, if I stepped on a cat, I could do that. When I see John Popper from Blues Traveler pick up his harmonica, play the hell out of it, and then sing, I go, can't do that. So that impresses me. So for me, I don't have heroes inside of the business per se. I mean, there's people I think are funnier than others for sure, but the folks I'm more attracted to are more the sort of, I don't know, scientists, engineers, whoever's,
Got it. One of the things that I didn't see coming from you is the Take a Knee podcast. I would not have pegged you as the self-improvement or personal development, motivational speaker type person. But the more and more I listen to you, daily I get a little nugget, or whether large or small, of wisdom that, I sometimes embrace as words to live by. So it does make a lot of sense. And I'm just I was thinking, gosh, with all that you have going on, everything that we've discussed up to this point, why this podcast, and why was it important for you to create that?
Well, I became more interested in motivational stuff, not rah-rah motivational stuff, but just kind of what made people tick and how to impart that knowledge to other people. I suppose going through what I went through over the last 6-7 years kind of caused some of it. Having young twins sort of brought some of that on. Always having an interest in psychology and what motivated people, but having to take that psychology and turn it toward comedy to try to get paid, quite frankly. But to me, comedy is psychology. It's understanding how people work and what they're going to respond to or not respond to. So for me, I've always thought of myself as sort of a psychologist with a microphone, who's trying to figure out those little things where people go, yeah, that's true, or yeah, man, that's the way I feel, like trying to get in their head and identify, but also come up with stuff they've never heard before, but yet they identify with very well. So I've always been interested in that. And I've always wanted to do something that had a subscription model to it. My podcast times, 14 a week or however many I do have always just been completely free. And it's worked out fine. But I've always wanted to think about, what if there was a subscription model, or to experiment with a subscription model? And I didn't want to take my podcast and charge a subscription for it, because it had always been free. And I didn't want to do that with other podcasts I was doing, because it had always already set a precedent of being free. But I thought, what could we do, charge a nominal amount, maybe $3 a month or something like that, whatever it works out to be, that would actually have some value. Like, I didn't want to charge people for jokes. I wanted to charge them for things that they could implement and actually make money with. So I'm not giving you, stock tips, but I'm hopefully taking on people like, Norman Lear or Mel Brooks or Gene Simmons, and the idea of sitting down with Gene Simmons and talking to him for an hour, and Kiss never really coming up. He's normally shilling Kiss crap the whole time, This is him passionately talking about how to be successful, what it takes, coming from Israel, where he was born, speaking Hungarian, coming to this country, not speaking English, learning the language, and what it took to do what he did. And then you taking that and applying it to your career, your life, your business, your whatever, and getting value out of it is something that I was interested in, and it's worked out really nicely. And the good news for me is sitting down with Norman Lear or Mel Brooks or whoever, or RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, and hearing their stories, it's sort of a privilege. It's not, I don't even really look at it as work.
It's a wide range of guests you have on there, and you've got up to 20 plus episodes now. Who's the one guest that taught you the most, and what was it?
They've all been really good. Terry Crews, I think, the actor, host, everything, Terry Crews, I think he really taught me the most, because he grew up in Detroit and all the factories were starting to go under when he was graduating high school, and he just worked his butt off to play football and get a scholarship and get out of there. And thank God that factory closed down, because that would have been a trap. He would have went in there. It's a way to entrap people, because you think about it. Here's this factory where you walk right out of high school and walk into it. You're making $33 an hour. You'll be there till you die.
Right.
So he also taught me something too, which is he evidently is a very good fine artist. And when he would get cut from the football team, he would say to the other players, I have no income now. I've been cut from the team. I will do a portrait of you and your family for $5,000 or whatever it was. And these guys that had a lot of money would pay him. And his ability to go from football player to fine artist like that, and to humble himself. I mean, to go to guys he was on a team with and go, well, I'm no longer on the team. Instead of going, screw the coach, screw the GM, and screw you, he went back and said, I got my brushes and my easel. How about I make ends meet doing this?
Right.
Then I'll get picked up on another team, and then when I get canned from that team, I'll go back again and ask to do portraits of it. That ability to just take what life is offering and flow with it, and just his boundless energy, and it's just his general approach to life, which just I found very like motivating, satisfying.
That's great. The Take a Knee podcast. Go to adamcarolla.com. You subscribe there. Highly recommended. You will love it. You can go to iTunes and get Adam's new movie, Road Hard. Great date movie, by the way. And the Newman documentary is coming out. Is that available yet? I saw the trailer. Gave me chills, actually, just FYI.
It's really good. I know I'm supposed to say that, but I don't say that about everything that I do. But this is really good. And it's not me, it's him. You know, all I did was capture his life and throw it up there.
Can't wait to see it.
It's really good. I think you can get it on pre-order now, but you watch it. Watch Road Hard with your wife. Watch Newman with your wife, and bring your kids in, because you want to go. You see that? That's how you're supposed to live.
I love it. And of course, all books written by Adam Carolla can be found at Amazon.com. In fact, go to AdamCarolla.com, click the Amazon banner, and help support the pirate ship. Let's keep the pirate ship afloat. It's been a delight for me these last few years. And you know, and Adam, what he did today was he brought along 25 autographed copies of my personal favorite book of his, Not Taco Bell Material. And I'm going to give you a copy, and stay tuned right there, and I'll come back with instructions on how you can get a free copy, along with some final words from Adam. We'll be right back.
Your portfolio has seen better days, but this too shall pass, and the best for you is yet to come. Together, we'll get you there faster. We're cash flow savvy, and we'd like to share some information with you that will show you how you can take control of your financial future and accelerate its arrival. Go to cashflowsavvy.com. More building, less waiting. Cashflowsavvy.com.
So Adam, you know who the audience is now. I've introduced you, and they've met you. Any final words for the audience that is looking just to pick themselves back up and get started again?
You know, there's a physical side of what you should do, which is get up, listen to classical music, and walk. Like if you're depressed and you're just having trouble, physically start moving. Like I talk to people and they're like, well, the doctor wants to prescribe me some this and some that because of my depression. I guarantee that if you get up in the morning, you put your earbuds in, you put some classical music on, and you just walk. It's the simplest remedy for whatever's ailing you. And then what I do is you just walk and you carry a buck slip. It's a little cardboard slip. They have them wherever, Staples, wherever. And you bring a pen. And as you start walking, listening to classical music and thinking, you then start coming up with ideas. And you start writing those ideas down. And some of them, for me, are as simple as, I want hooks, more hooks for my bathroom. I got the bathrobe in the towel and the other towel's on the floor. I got to get some bathrobe hooks. I just write down bathroom hooks. But underneath that one might be an idea for my next documentary. Jot that down. Start carrying a pen around. Get yourself a nice pile of these buck slips. Put some in the car. Put some in your pocket. Don't leave home without it. And just start tuning in. Don't listen to music that has lyrics. Those are words that you don't need in your head right now.
Right.
You need music, just a symphony, and you need to be alone, and you need to just walk and just let your mind do this. And things, as once you let your mind get to sort of a neutral position, then it'll be open to new ideas, explorations, and new priorities, sort of filling what is now become a sort of empty space. And to me, that's the most basic way to get started. Later on, do not ask questions about what shall come. Everybody said, how did you know this whole podcast thing was going to work out? 6.5 years ago when no one heard of a podcast. I said, I didn't know it was going to work out. I go, why'd you do it every day for 2 years? I said, because that's what I do, And they're like, I do a movie. I have no idea it's going to work out. I do a documentary. I have no idea it's going to work out. I do a podcast. I had no idea it was going to work out. I have no idea anything's going to work out. You're not supposed to be thinking about that. You're supposed to be doing it. Mm-hmm. Don't be thinking about the best way to monetize something. Be thinking about doing it to do it because that's what you do. That will give you your best chance for things to work out.
Right.
But I tell people all the time, I do stuff that doesn't work out every other day. Mm-hmm. I work for free all the time. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, here we are. I'm going to eat about $80 worth of food.
You're more than welcome to. Well, thank you very much, Adam. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Honor, in fact, actually.
I'm honored that you're honored.
Fantastic. So go to thedooverguy.com, search Adam Carolla, and then right there in the show notes will be instructions on how you can get a free copy of not Taco Bell material, a free copy that's actually autographed by Mr. Adam Carolla. Alrighty, I'm Matt, the Do-Over Guy, and I will see you next week on Your Do-Over.